Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the True Sports Show on TrueChat, broadcasting live from Studio 2A in Cincinnati, Ohio on this Monday, July 18th, 2016. My name's Camden Pierce.
And I'm Scott Wood.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, back and better than ever. For the first time in 2 weeks. We didn't get one recorded, but we should have, man. And I hit the mic. I'm very sorry. That was probably loud, but we'll live with it. But we didn't record one at night. I think that would have been a cool
nice
sports
episode.
Show.
Yep.
Indeed. But we've got some great topics for you today. Not really splitting them up because I don't think any of them were too huge. We've got Deflategate. Von Miller gets his big deal. John Elway bends to the pressure. We'll talk if that was the right move for him and the guaranteed money he gets with that one. And we've got, if we have time for it, Pat Riley has admitted to fault. We'll tell you what he has admitted to. And we've got buyers and sellers after the All-Star break. That could be a show in its own, but we're going to do a bit of a rapid-fire segment, talk about a lot of the big sellers and big buyers there, including a defending World Series champion. But we're going to start with Deflategate here, and this may be the last time we ever talk about it. It may also be the most talked about topic on TrueChat ever, I do believe, because the amount of times this was brought back up and rehashed by either the appeals court or Tom Brady or Roger Goodell. It's been something of an issue for about a year and a half now, and finally it looks like it's coming to a close because the Second Court of Appeals told Tom Brady to go shove it, that Roger Goodell can do whatever he wants because that's what they agreed to in the CBA, which is the most common sense answer we came to. Even if we don't like the suspension, maybe you should, work that thing a little better next time. But sadly, they have to wait until 2020 to rework that CBA because of, that's how long they signed it for.
Sometimes you think revenue sharing is the best thing, and you should have looked at the fine print.
You should have looked at the fine print. They weren't worried about Roger Goodell having the hammer and the gavel, but he does. He is a jury, judge, and executioner.
He has the dictatorial power.
Indeed. So, regardless, I don't know if we ever got your opinions on how long the suspension should be,
right.
Or how long, or if he should have got suspended at all, or if deflating footballs is even this important, but none of that matters now.
Okay.
Because Tom Brady has to serve the 4-game suspension. So, do you think this is the right move by Tom Brady, or should he really have taken this thing to the end and went to the Supreme Court with this thing?
Well, I mean, if he goes to the Supreme Court, they can turn him down as well.
Right.
Just because, he appeals. He appealed the decision. He appealed the right to have himself heard again, and they said no. And I think, it's time to be done with it. You've pushed it as far as you can. If you push it any further, now you're going to get into maybe the season before the Supreme Court rules on it, maybe in October, whether or not they're going to hear the case. And so now you play a few games, and then all of a sudden it's an issue. It's an issue during training camp. It's an issue in the early part of the season. This way, the Patriots know what they have to do. They can go into camp, get ready for their first 4 games. Brady can get himself prepared, and it's just time to move on. And I found it interesting that when this came out, nothing really changed in Vegas. And the Patriots actually with the schedule, you hate to say that football made it a decision here, but the Patriots start on the road against the Cardinals, and they were the underdog when Brady was listed as the starting quarterback. So obviously with Brady not playing, they are still the underdogs. And then according to a quirk in the schedule, the Patriots now go home for 3 games after that, and they're still favored to win those 3 games without Brady. Mm-hmm. So this way you get it out of the way before training camp starts. Everybody can go in with the same focus. We know we're basically playing a mini season and then an extended season. We're going to play 4 games without Tom Brady. We're going to get ready for that. We're going to prepare for that. At the same time, we can prepare for life after the suspension. And in all likelihood, if everything being equal, being the New England Patriots, they ought to come out at 2-2 at the worst, 3-1, probably their best hope, maybe 4-0. And they'll keep right on moving along on their Eastern Conference march to the title to try to get back into the Super Bowl again. So I think it's a good idea for the organization.
And for those of you who don't know, the 4 games that Brady will be missing are at the Cardinals, which is, I believe, the first game of the season on September 11th, 8:30 p.m. in prime time. And then they do have the 3 home games, all against divisional opponents, however, which could set them back if they end up losing 2 or 3 of these games. But I don't think they will, because it's Dolphins, Texans, Bills. So they get everybody else in the AFC East at home right in the beginning of the season, though. So all their away division games will be later on in the season. But say that we go to the Supreme Court and they rule on this in another 10 weeks, which would be at the end of Week 5. The Patriots would have just played the Browns, and they rule not in favor of Brady. Tom Brady will then miss these 4 games. So I think he actually lucked out here. They get the Bengals at home, at the Steelers, at the Bills, home against the Seahawks, and then they have a bunch of different games like at the Jets, home against the Rams, at the Broncos. There's a lot of games that they could miss here that are a lot worse for them than they do at the beginning of the season, or than they have as these first 4 games of the season. Granted, that at Arizona game is going to be a pretty tough one without Tom Brady, I think. You've got a pretty stellar cornerback core there in Arizona, so it's going to be a tough first outing for Jimmy Garoppolo, but maybe he will be able to pull that one out. But I think they go 3-1 here. I think they sweep their divisional opponents, and that's probably that.
And I think that's why I said that football made this decision. Mm-hmm. I think Brady. I really, like you said, it didn't matter, but I don't think this is a big deal. Usually you want to see a fine or a suspension because there's some kind of, ability, you gain an advantage in performance. And I don't think, I think the stats show that he threw the ball better after the balls got pumped up. So I don't think any kind of advantage was gained here. So right. I think the punishment was a lot harsher than it should have been. But I think as you look at it now with the Patriots and you sit down and, he and Belichick are playing for titles. And let's face it, Tommy Brady's a little bit older. To miss 4 games in the season that his team could win 3 out of 4.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Going to make him a little bit healthier for those games that they're going to need him. And, maybe he's half a step quicker or, a little bit quicker with his release at the end of the season because he doesn't get sacked 4 times or whatever. Right. And I just think it's a good, strong football decision. Honestly, you think if he feels he's right, he should push it as far as he should because right should win out. But I think this was a business decision, a football decision made by the Patriots, and I think it's the correct one.
Indeed. And I had a bit of a slip of the tongue. The Texans are in the AFC
I was going to say,
South. They are not in the AFC East, so that's my bad. I saw the Jets down there, and I'm like, wait a minute, they're definitely in the Patriots division.
It's in a conference game, not a division.
But it is an interconference game. Yes, the 1 NFC and 3 AFC opponents to start the season. Just not all of them are in their division. But with the talent currently in the AFC East, I think the Patriots pretty much have that one wrapped up regardless. But we got to move on here. Probably the biggest story, though, in the NFL, in my opinion, especially as Vegas would tell you, to affect a franchise for years to come. Von Miller didn't just land the jackpot, he landed it about twice. Von Miller gets $70 million guaranteed in a new 5-year deal. This rivals some of the guaranteed money that we see with a lot of the quarterbacks, and it looks like John Elway bent the knee, to Von Miller. This can't be a good move, is it? I feel like, I guess I'll give my opinion first. I think you've got a Denver Broncos team that was built on the strength of many of their defensive players working in tandem, and you've already lost a lot of these guys to different free agent markets that are willing to pay this kind of money for a Von Miller type player. This can't be good for them going forward. You can't spend this much money on a guy like this. We saw it in Ndamukong Suh in Miami. They can't bringing a free agent to save their lives now because they've got all their money wrapped up in defensive linemen. Granted, Von Miller pretty much single-handedly took Cam Newton out of the Super Bowl, but how many more times can he truly do that? You're going to start to see this guy doubled immediately, and he won't have that much of an impact on the game. I thought John Elway had the good stance, which was we're not going to give you a ton of guaranteed money, but if you work to these goals, we'll give you a ton of money. You just got to get there. Obviously, players don't want that. Von Miller wins. This is a win for the players, I think, after we saw a ton of money get handed out in the NBA free agency season. And by a ton of money, I mean a ton of money get handed out to some players that is very questionable whether they deserved it or not. But Scotty Too Hottie, the Scott Wood, I want to know what you think. Is this Von Miller deal what they needed to get done? Did they need to keep their defensive centerpiece, or should they have done what the Seahawks did and waited to see what their big defensive horse was going to do when they didn't give him the contract he wanted?
Well, I think probably as a franchise, you'd have been better off to let him walk and pick up, because you've let some pieces go. And as you say, as a linebacker, yeah, they can line him up on the outside or whatever. But they had some linemen in Denver that took on the blockers that gave Von Miller the lanes. Can you replace those guys as easily? Mm-hmm. Can you find people who can do the job to open up the lanes for him? I think that's the bigger issue. And you see what happened with the Texans when they gave all that money to J.J. Watt, as well. They made the playoffs, but, are they really going to be a Super Bowl team? But on the flip side, what do you do with your fan base? You've let, Brock Osweiler go. Peyton Manning's retired. Not that he shouldn't have, and then the face of your franchise becomes Von Miller, and all you have at quarterback is Mark Sanchez. If you don't sign him, what are you telling, your fans? I mean, can you still win your division and get into the playoffs without Von Miller? And can you come off a Super Bowl and do what the Seahawks did, and that is, they still had a young Russell Wilson. They still had, an all-pro running back. They still had some offense that they could do something with. So it's like, okay, you want to leave? We've got a workable offense and still 10 guys around you that really aren't, we're not going to miss a beat. Whereas they had let a lot of pieces go, and you let Von Miller go, would they even have been a 500 team? I understand long term they've hurt themselves, and I don't think you can pay. Even in today, especially in today's NFL, where yes, the defense is kind of winning, but all the rules are in favor of the offense. I think they've hurt themselves for the long run, but I can see where they have done this, and I'm surprised at the money. I would have thought Elway would have had more of a selling point, like, do you want to keep winning or do you want the money? But I also understand in football, you never know when your last game could be, because it's such a violent sport. You want that guaranteed money.
Yep.
I don't blame Von Miller at all. And he maybe said, "Hey, I got my championship." And he may be looking across on the other side of the ball, saying, "We ain't gonna win anyway. We got
give me my money.
We got Mark Sanchez. And we got the second-year guy out of Northwestern.
Sanchez ain't even gonna play from what I'm hearing. And then Simeon.
Simeon's gonna play out of Northwestern as they wait to get Peyton Lynch, or was Peyton. Paxton Lynch ready. And so Vaughn's like, yeah, if I'm going to take the hits, let's at least make some money, take care of my family, because we ain't going to win nothing anyway.
Do you know what he's going to be after his time in the NFL? And this how we'll end this one. We got to.
What he's going to, I heard this. He does have an interest, doesn't he? He has a real strong interest. I don't remember what it is, though.
It is an ag career. He's going to be a chicken farmer.
Chicken farmer. Mm-hmm. There we go.
Going to make his own chicken farm after the NFL.
Well, everybody's pushing healthy and pushing chicken.
Hey,
you get your non-steroidal chicken. Everybody wants that. So your free-range chickens and stuff, there's a market.
So there you go. Live out in the outskirts of Denver, make a chicken farm. Von Miller.
Just real quickly on a side note, I read the last week's Sports Illustrated. It talked about the number of NFL players who are going into winemaking. Former, like Drew Bledsoe, Rick Meyer, Terry Hogue, all these people have gone into winemaking.
Any reason?
They say it's the attention to detail that it takes, and obviously they have money, but it's that attention to detail and liking the daily work, the daily grind, and it gets them. They're not just the figurehead there. And right now, that's a big market in the upscale financial regions.
Right.
Having a winery and drinking wine and wine tasting. So
there you go. Good way to make money, that's for sure. We're going to skip this Pat Riley one. I think I may talk with Brad Murray, who returns to the show after a Western tour of the United States. We'll have to talk with him about that and this Pat Riley
you
topic
think Pat
as
just
well.
is taking, pardon the pun, the heat for this one, for letting D. Wade go?
See,
or do you think he really is? Because
think
he's a master of deflection.
All right, I guess we're talking about it. Yes.
No, I don't really know
he
the
even,
story.
He even said Buck stops here.
Yeah.
In his speech.
But is he really to blame for it, or is he just deflecting?
He didn't get in the middle
organization.
of it. No, he didn't get in the middle of it.
Gotcha.
He didn't talk to Dwayne Wade.
He was so busy going after Kevin Durant.
Free agency. Yeah, he was so busy trying to get Hassan Whiteside re-signed. His job was Hassan Whiteside, and his job was Kevin Durant.
Gotcha.
And he said, okay, this is what I'll do. And the owner thought he had a good enough relationship with Dwayne Wade to get it done. And so Pat Riley said, okay, you're going to get this done, right? You're going to get this done, right? You're actually going to get this done. And then he never got it done. It never came to fruition. And he is the GM, and I think he, my short opinion is I think he did exactly what he needed to, which was take the blame for it. I'm the one who's supposed to handle player relations. I didn't handle the relations with Dwayne Wade. That's why he's in Chicago right now.
And D. Wade went home.
To
his kids.
Yes.
No?
Yeah.
Or his kids with him in Florida.
I think. I think they may still be with mom up in Chicago. Actually, that could be something. But he built that house in Miami for 3 years. That place is his baby.
Well, he'll retire there.
So
how many more years does he have, really?
I'd say probably none prime. I'd probably say 3 or 4 more.
And he stayed in the East.
True money making.
Which you and I have talked about. Going to the East is a smart thing.
Is the smart thing, which is why we said Kevin Durant might have wanted to go to Boston, but it may have opened Russell Westbrook's chances to go to the East and finish out this season. But regardless, we talked about that in last week's episode. You should check that out.
Not to make you talk about that, but I just kind of wondered. Okay.
Yeah, but buyers and sellers in MLB free agency. I wanted to get into this one for a little bit.
Okay.
I'm kind of going to let you take the reins on this one a little bit.
Well, you look at, you have after the All-Star break, and then you have the trade deadline coming up,
right.
And then you have the second trade deadline that comes up. They have to clear waivers, so it's it's kind of a flexible trade deadline that people don't talk about. It's like, oh, you have to trade them by this time, and then 2 weeks later, it's like, well, you can still trade people, but they have to clear waivers, and so usually it's a gentleman's agreement. If you try to make a trade, you don't stop somebody else's trade. But you could, like if the Cubs were wanting to make a trade and the Cardinals said, we really don't want you to have that guy, the Cardinals could lay claim on them, and then the Cubs don't get him, So it's really, it's not a firm trade deadline, but it's not too bad. But now we're after the All-Star game, and everybody has those 4 or 5 days off, and they take a look at, well, are we buyers or sellers? Are we still in the playoff hunt? Or do we have some people that we need to get rid of that would be look good on the market? Do we want to dump salary? Do we need to beef up our farm club? What do we want to do? Is somebody hot and now's the time to get the most back from them? And as you look in the National League, I don't think it's that big of a deal because you basically have the Nationals, the Cubs, and the Giants, who have the best record in baseball, pretty legitimate leads. They could be caught. There's still a few games to be played, but really pretty legitimate leads. And then you have 5 teams that are within 2 games of each other. You have the Dodgers, the Mets, the Marlins, the Cardinals, and the Pirates. Those 5 teams are going to get probably the 2 playoff spots. So you have 8 teams, and then you have the other 7 that are out of it.
Right.
So I think buyers and sellers there.
I think there's one team that needs to buy, and you may disagree with me, but with all the injuries that the Cubs have sustained here, I think they're definitely the team that needs to buy something, and it would probably be somehow starting pitching, even though I thought that they would probably not need that with the depth that they had. And even the Mets have sort of kind of felt the injury grind here this year.
Right.
So where do you think that starting pitching could come from for either of these clubs? Do you think do you have somebody?
There's not a lot of big names, but I think there are a lot of guys that you can get in the middle of the rotation that would help you for the push to get in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Because when you get to the playoffs, you need 3. 3 strong starters. And I still think the Cubs have 3 strong starters. And I think that they're a little bit of a dead arm situation.
Who's their third besides for Lester and Arrieta?
You've got Lackey or Hamill.
They have Cole Hamels.
No. Hammell. No, the Cubs just got beat by Cole Hamels. What's Hamels' first name? He's basically been their best pitcher the whole season.
Right, since Jake Arrieta got very cold.
Right, and he stayed consistent. Doggone it! You have to look that one up because I'm drawing a blank here. Those are their. They still have 4 good starters. I agree with you that it's the Cubs. I think the Cubs need a bat.
All right.
Yeah, I think the Cubs need a bat, and then you always need bullpen help. The Cubs are playing a lot of people out of position just to get them in the lineup, and I think
Jason
Hamill. Thank you. I want to say Jake. I need that one right. Jason Hamill. And so I think they need an outfielder.
Okay.
I don't care where they come from. I think they need an outfielder. Either that, or you've got to get a third baseman and move Chris Bryant out to the outfield full time. Because Bryant defensively is not, to me, a strong third baseman. But they've lost. Hayward's not getting it done,
right,
offensively. And then they lost. The catcher that they were playing in left field from the Cincinnati area. From Dayton. Oh, man. See, I hate the Cubs, so I try not to remember their players' names. He broke his leg or hurt his knee in the first week of the season. And, and Dexter Fowler's been up and down. I really think they need an outfielder.
Okay.
Sorry about that, folks, but I'm not going to lie to you. This is TrueChat. I don't like the Cubs, don't like to remember their players.
Because you can't tell what the Cardinals
No, not at all. It's bad enough that you probably can't see it back here behind me, or we're in an office that have 2 pictures of Wrigley Field up, and it's just like sending chills through my spine. I feel like it's daggers in my back. But, so that's where I think. I think you're right. I think it is Chicago, and I think with Theo Epstein, he'll be the one to make the wheels and deals. I think the Cubs aren't done yet, and they don't need anybody long term. Because they're going to get these guys back. These guys are signed, they're young. I almost had that kid's name on my. Oh man.
All right, so while you think of it,
he's a Dayton native.
I know. All the entire audience.
They're all yelling at me. It's like trying to figure out who the fifth president of the United States
is. Yep, there it is. But let's move to the
Kyle Schwarber.
Schwarber. There you go.
Kyle Schwarber. I knew I was going to get it. So there you go. So Cub fans don't hate on me too much. I got fans. They're sort of friends that are Cubs fans, but that's okay.
Or at least half friends.
Yeah, half friends.
Do you want to go ahead and get to the American League?
Let's go to the American League, guys, because I think it's much more interesting.
In the American League.
I really am. You've got Baltimore and Cleveland. Go Indians. Got to go root for the Tribe.
There you go.
And then, in the West, you have the Texas Rangers, who, look like a pretty strong club. And then the interesting one here is you have the defending World Series champion, Kansas City Royals, 1 year removed from having all the starters on the All-Star team after they had lost the All-Star game the next season. You have them 6 games out of the wild card, 8.5 games out of the Central. They have 5 teams to jump to get into the wild card, and they have 2 teams to jump. They have the Tigers and the Indians to jump to get. So not only do they have to make up 8.5 games, they also have to do it while the Tigers continue to lose. So they need 2 people to lose. Then they have to jump, 6 games. Whereas in the National League, 2 games separate the 5 teams. The 7 teams looking, the Red Sox, the Royals are on the outside looking into the Red Sox, 6 games behind to get into the playoffs. So here you are, you're the Kansas City Royals. You've got more people in the turnstiles than you ever have. You have all these big names. You're not getting it done.
Mm-hmm. So
to me, they're a seller. So, this is when they're hot. They're going to have the most trade value, and you can build up your, farm system. You can get the most trade value back, the most money, and I think you can it's the right time for them. They just have so many teams to jump.
Mm-hmm. And it is interesting, though. It's definitely not the normal route you take as a World Series defensive champion. So it'll be a tough one, a tough decision.
And then in the World Series, both of the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So they've been in the World Series the last 2 years, won the last one. But I just think that they should be a. I don't think they will be. I think they're going to try to play. They're going to think that Cleveland can't stay that hot and everything else, and then eventually they're starting to round into shape and going to play some good ball.
Right.
But I think Cleveland's pitching's legit, and I think Kansas City is on the outside of the divisional look and trying to get in the wild card. They've just got too many teams to get over. So I would be a seller if I was Kansas City. I don't think they will yet, but I think they should be.
And the curse is over in Cleveland, so
right.
Can't count on that anymore, and it might as well be the Giants.
And as your avid baseball knowledge keeps saying, it's the year of the Giants.
It is the year of the Giants.
Number of years.
Yep.
So
I can look
why
at
is everybody else
statistics.
playing?
Yeah, just stop playing. Giants have the best record in the league. It's coming full circle again. Don't play on even years. This is the year to rebuild, reload, and regroup. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to the True Sports Show. Scott, thank you very much for being on.
Thanks for having me again. Always enjoyed being on the
It's always a good one.
Show.
Always a good one when we got Scott Wood on. So we got baseball and NFL and a little bit of NBA there too. Took the reins of the show, and Scott Wood's like, nope, I'm talking about Pat Riley. We're gonna ride that one. We're gonna ride that
Pat
one.
Riley just interests me. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to make the show run a little bit longer.
He is an interesting figure. That is for sure. But ladies and gentlemen, please check out our other shows. We got sports and politics, pop culture, entertainment, business, lifestyle, and more. We got an app. Just search TrueChat on your phone store. You can download that one. I don't think you can see it in the shop, but we got TrueChat Next up there on the TV. And that's a new interactive website we just launched. It is actually out of beta, regardless of what it might say at the top of your browser. We've got all of our shows, audio, video, and text, but you do have to look at the picture to know which is which or what show is video, audio, or video, audio, text. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to the show. My name's Camden Pierce.
I'm Scott Wood.
And thank you very much, and be the change.